My name's Tasnim. I work in Mulberry Girls School and I have a particular focus on promoting STEM education to our students. Thank you. So the first question that we tackled was about perceptions, and what we started from was actually what do students think tech careers are and what kind of people are in tech careers. And a lot of people have misconceptions that people who work in the tech industry are very insular, who don't collaborate as much and who are mainly male. So we thought, okay, how do we tackle that perception from an early age? So we thought we need to start them younger and start promoting digital skills at primary school level all the way to Key Stage 4, Key Stage 5. Another problem was the definition of tech industry. A lot of people have the perception that digital skills is mainly about coding and computing, whereas in actual fact, digital skills have become more and more important in all industries, including drama, math, science, etc. And we need to acknowledge that. We also talked about starting tech days or programs within schools, and the fact that students, before they go on such programs, may need to have an induction training. Also, teachers who want to provide a tech program within schools or some sort of like tech day out where they bring in tech specialists, etc., may need to also have some teacher training in order to do that, in order to be equipped with those skills. We also talked about there's an issue with role models. Compared to other industries, the tech industry, the digital skills industry isn't being advertised enough. The type of people who work in the digital skills aren't being advertised enough, and there's a lack of awareness about how open and how diverse the industry can be. And we were thinking of perhaps devising some sort of marketing strategy, with the BBC, for example, to raise that awareness. We talked about that there are two main issues with perception and the fact that there is a lack of awareness about the different types of jobs in the digital skills industry and the lack of women in the digital skills industry that needs to be addressed. And we need to look at how to assist startups as well as big companies to work with schools and provide them with training as well in order to do that effectively. So that's perceptions. And then we follow nicely into schools and colleges. How can we help schools and colleges to raise awareness about digital skills? So one of the main important points that we again mentioned was teacher training. Now, a lot of teachers are a bit hesitant about working with digital skills because they aren't skilled in it, or they aren't as knowledgeable in the industry. So there needs to be some sort of CPD training, perhaps for all teachers, regarding digital skills, so that they can incorporate it within their lessons, and so that students can then see how they can use digital skills in different industries. We talked about having some sort of collaborative nature with people from the industry as well as teachers, so providing some sort of educational resources where perhaps people from the digital industry can actually come into to the CPD training and bring the teachers up to scratch about what's happening now and where the digital skills are at the moment, but also provide lesson plans and resources so then teachers can have something already to help them with lesson plans when they teach. We also need that in order to achieve this, we need someone to champion that within schools. So perhaps someone who, like a teacher or a SLT member, to act as a link between the school and different companies. And we need to have a construct in which to apply this learning and also work with companies in the local area so they know that it's actually not something that's far out there in central London, but it's actually companies around them who they can work with and gain apprenticeships from. And then that leads us nicely into apprenticeships. We discussed that there are actually some initiatives taking place with apprenticeship training agencies who work really well with startups to draw in young people to these apprenticeships. However, there is still a stigma attached with apprenticeships and the lack of value that it has, or supposed lack of value it has compared to conventional education and academic qualifications. And what's happening is a lot of schools, when schools are being approached by companies to to encourage them to take on apprenticeships, a lot of them are talking about, well, what does this mean in terms of our grades? So we then need to address the problem of how schools and how success is measured in schools, and acknowledge the fact that apprenticeships do increase the value of schools when they supply them and when they encourage students to take on apprenticeships. And we also talked about advertising as well, about how companies need to advertise apprenticeships as part of their entry route. We talked about that there is a lack of awareness about apprenticeships. Some people think that it's an alternative to university education, whereas actually there are also some apprenticeships who require students to go to university as well as take on a hands-on job. We talked about the fact that there is still an issue of the career service within schools, the fact that a lot of apprenticeships still aren't being advertised, and the lack and the quality and the different types aren't being advertised. And that when in careers fairs, when you see companies advertising the particular routes, they look at how you can get into a particular job, and then you have a separate stall for apprenticeships. That needs to change, and that companies need to incorporate apprenticeships as part of their entry route map into their jobs and companies.